Hello, everybody. Kirk Spano here, and here's the poker hat that will be going on hiatus for the next 2 months. I have not shaved yet. That's normally a Monday thing to remind me that I have to go to work, but I've been working since 6:30 this morning and have not shaved. I am on my second cup of coffee, though. So I published the punch card growth stocks here at Margin of Safety Investing and also at Fundamental Trends. And then also have the option selling trades of the week. As you can see, some stuff going on in the chat room. And Shooter's got his swing trades for the week. So, if you're a swing trader, you want to be over here. If you're not a swing trader, then this is just dandy. So let's take a look at punch card growth stocks real quick. I'm not going to focus on these too much, but you will notice that I set it up as a model portfolio with the size of the position that I have allocated capital to. And what's important to know, and you'll want to read the Building Your Positions article, Controlling Your Emotions, Scaling in through Volatility to Find Excellence. But really, this talks about how to scale into a position, build slowly, wide price points, all that good stuff. And then the position sizing. Starter position is under 1% of your portfolio. A half position is 1 to 2%. Full position is 3 to 4%. And a double position is 6 to 8% for stocks. A little bit bigger for ETFs. And so I lay that out right here. Where you can buy it over the next month or two, what prices you're looking for to buy, kind of the core ownership reasons or factors. Went through all the reasoning, and then some target stocks that I'm not in right now, but I'm looking to get back into or get into. Enphase, which I haven't owned for a few years. Palantir, which we top tick sold that a while back, looking to get back into it. I have had a cash secured put expire, so looking to buy the dip on this or sell a cash secured put. CRISPR Therapeutics, looks like that one's bottoming. So we want to figure out if we can get an absolute price down in the 40s. Sunrun and SunPower both look pretty interesting, but I don't really want to take the single stock risk. So I'm probably just going to use the solar ETF, which I've already been doing. So I'll continue to do that. But if you want something with more risk, more volatility, I should say, but with more upside, I think both of these do really well when residential solar kicks into higher gear. I don't know if that's 2 years from now or 5 or 6 years from now. So I'd rather just trade the intermediate term trades with solar ETF. And so I got this out there for you. I'm in 19 growth stocks right now and looking to add just a few more. So it'll be a pretty well diversified portfolio. If I get everything, it'll be 22 stocks plus some of the ETF positions. So option selling trades. This is what I really amended as well. Not only did I do the model portfolio for the growth stocks, but I really am focusing just on the actionable ideas for options and option selling in particular. So Enphase is technically close to what we'd like. Remember, we're looking for weekly RSI, and it's at 36 right now, so it's not quite oversold, but it's pretty close. If we take a look at the charts of Enphase, it's in this rectangle, and it looks like it could be double bottoming here. Now, does that mean it can't go bloom bloom and fall down into here, down into the 70s? It doesn't mean that at all. It could absolutely happen, but I think it's going to probably hold around 95, 96, and then start to jitterbug and go back up. I do expect the Fed to ease here in the second half of the year. I think that they have to create a situation where they get enough tax revenue from a rising stock market that they don't really have a lot of choices. Interest rates have to come down because the debt is too expensive at the higher interest rates, and we don't want to see the stock market fall. What we want to do is see it continue to rise so that as people sell, it generates more tax receipts. I've shown the chart before that tax receipts basically follow the stock market. And if we can, keep having bull markets, 3 out of 4 years, then we're in pretty good shape. So can these stocks get beat up? Yeah. My guess is that it gets back up into this 130 range. and then maybe we have to worry about it out in 2026. So I'm going to look for the November $85 cash secured put. I'm going to try to get $10 for it. Right now you can get about 8. You could take the 8. That's pretty good. But I think that people are worried that President Trump will win the presidency again and that he'll somehow destroy all the clean energy stuff. Here's the thing. Everybody knows, and I'm talking everybody knows, that if we don't have an all of the above energy strategy, then oil and gas are going to go through the roof. And as much as a handful of people might like that, even the oil and gas industry is pivoting to clean energy. What did you just read that Exxon is doing? Lithium. So they're looking to be one of the biggest lithium producers in the country by 2030. It's all coming. The capitalism play already. They're not going to get rid of tax breaks that these companies want to handle their pivot. So, I think a lot of these fears about what if Trump wins are unfounded. I think the thing that will happen if Trump wins is that Medicare will get slashed, and then you got an awful lot of old people without health benefits, and I don't know how that goes. So the trade we want to set up here, November 15th, this is option strat. Right now you get 870 if you sell it. I'm trying to be greedy and get 10, but really anything over about 850, that's 10% for a few months. Pretty good return. New Fortress Energy, weekly RSI of about 20, very oversold. I think that fundamentally it's very undervalued. I don't think there's much downside left. You can see it's hitting all these support levels between 20-ish and 16-ish. Just not a lot of downside left. I think that it's ready to pivot. I'm looking to sell the September $20 cash secured puts. Already can get $1.57 for them. I'm trying to get about 2. I say, you could take the $1.50, but again, trying to be greedy, let the volatility give it to me. $2 on a good till cancel. I think that probably fills. You could even put in 3 and see what happens. The Unity Software, RSI of 19. I think this one's pretty much done. It hit this spot and started to jitterbug. It's right in the midst of a whole bunch of support zones. Can it go down a few more bucks? Absolutely. Will it? Who cares? This stock really has a lot of catching up to do. I think it's in the 50s, a few years out. This is just in an industry where they're an oligopolist and the company switched management. They're doing a good job. I think that you see this stock catch FOMO at some point because AR and VR and 3D are all big deals. The thing that is completely underappreciated is the industrial applications. And once people start to see what industry is doing with AR, it's just going to take off. So I already have a starter position. It was a half position, and now it's down to a starter position. So I'm finally ready to sell a cash secured put. I have this order in already. September, $15 puts. I'm trying to get $1.50, which it might hit today. We'll see. Enovix. I don't write a lot of covered calls. However, I think that Enovix really took off on that manufacturing deal in South Korea. RSI is 74, the weekly RSI. Remember the difference between daily, weekly, and monthly. Daily is measured at the end of every day. Weekly is measured at the end of every week. Monthly is measured at the end of every month. And the weekly is really the best for position traders because it's pretty applicable to the next 6 to 12 months of what's likely to happen. And that's a good time frame for us. The monthly oversold, if you do ever notice that the stock market is oversold on the monthly, always a great time to buy. Every single time in history, and it doesn't happen about once or twice a decade. But the oversold on a monthly is always, on the market, a great time to buy. Now, with an individual stock, you have to decide if it's staying in business. But, the weekly is really great for position traders. So we take a look at Enovix. It has this big run up off the bottom. We were, of course, doing some buying and cash secured put selling down here. So selling a covered call as it's in this jitterbug zone, I think is probably good against part of your position if it's profitable. I don't think I want to sell this because I still think it can double or triple from here. But I do think that's going to be choppy. So while the stock bides its time and consolidates, I think you can sell the September $16 covered call against part of your position. You can currently get a little over $2 a share for it, so I would go ahead and take that. I did. I think I got 230 for it, or 235, I don't remember. So here you see it. If it gets called away at 16, you end up having a net gain of at 1830, 1825, the strike price plus the premium. That's a pretty good deal. And again, I wouldn't write it against your entire position. I would just recognize that it's overbought right now. See the RSI way up there and the MFI up there, and the MACD starting to kind of flip. I think that's MACD. I put different things down here once in a while. In any case, I think that these overbought signals are pretty clear. Elliott Wave is saying that it's going to pull back to 14. You have support here around 12, another one around 8, and then you have this confluence here in the 7-8 range. So this is probably the absolute bottom fishing is 7-8. I don't think it's going to get there, though. I think that this new deal that they have goes towards what I said months and months ago, which is the big upside for Enovix, isn't that they keep building a bunch of factories and spending a bunch of money. Is that they license out to existing battery manufacturers. And I think that that is where they can have some big money, is in the licensing. So covered call on Enovix. Somebody asked what I think about Solar Edge. I did mention them in the punch card stocks here. So I think Solar Edge is in the process of bottoming, but they probably have to dilute, and the war isn't helping them at all over in Israel, right? Because it's an Israeli company. I think there's a moment when, if you want to take the risk of Solar Edge, you can. But right now they're suffering in a number of different ways. The market, their technology, I think, fell a little bit behind, and what's going on in Israel is not helping them. It might be a case where once all the dilution is priced in, and maybe it is, then it's something that you ask the question, all right, is it going to be in business in 5 years? I think the answer is probably yes. If you take a look at the chart, I mean, it really is just cratered. What are they down to? 2440. Did they do a reverse split? Yeah. So when you see a bunch of articles that say hold, sell, 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 you probably should be thinking about buying, right? Because this is just piling on. I mean, where were they back here, right? So where were they in 2021 and 2022? I mean, let's take a look. Oops, there you go. Let's go back to 2021 and 2022. Oh, one guy. Everybody else, buy. A couple holds, buy. And then after they're down 90%, whoa, now let's start saying that we should sell it. It's the same shit over and over again, So, yeah, I think it's probably close to being a buy, but I don't want to do that just yet. The quantitative signal here is very momentum driven. When this switches from strong sell to sell, that's probably the spot. And I'll let you know, I use this stuff. You don't need to subscribe to their quant service. I give it to you anyway. We've been doing quant forever, so I don't really love his formula. It's too momentum driven. It's too 3 to 6 month tradey, and they just end up in bad stuff a lot of times, and then you're in there and you don't know to get rid of it. So there you have it. Revised option selling trades of the week. Exactly what I'm doing for my firm. Exactly what I'm doing for my firm. That's what people said they wanted, so there you go. There you have it. The 4 trades I'm looking to make for my firm this week. Maybe next week. We'll see how long it takes. I probably won't do this article every week. There'll probably be about 1 week a month where we don't have it. So we'll have the option expiration update every month, and then probably 2 of these would be my guess. And then 1 week, the prior week's article will apply. Generally, the options expiration update probably apply for a couple of weeks. All right. Any other questions? Quant does not come with Seeking Alpha Premium. They have a separate service. The ratings that you just saw, right? This is there with the premium. That's all you need. They also have an alert service, but technically I'm supposed to be selling it for them, but it's called Alpha Picks. Honestly, it's just not that good. They end up getting into stuff that doesn't have any fundamental basis. And, they put some tertiary fundamental analysis, just regurgitation stuff, but it's not really quality. So the quantitative formula is what becomes important. And the quant formula is very momentum driven, super heavy on the momentum. So you're way better off going over to rare if you want that kind of trading, because shooter is way better. I mean, way better. And I'd fire shooter and pimp alpha picks if that was the better thing. But shooter is, honestly, I don't know how many more times I can say this. Shooter is an unusual character. He is such a good trader that I hired him, and I'm not a big fan of most traders. So, do I recommend to hold SunPower or sell it for better alternatives? We sold SunPower a very long time ago. I mean, it was over $20 a share when we sold it. So, what is it now? $250? What's the point of selling it at the bottom if you still own it? I mean, if it's in a taxable account, you could take the tax break, take the tax write-off, but then I would probably sell a cash secured put, more than 30 days out and just get back into it. I think that you missed your chance to sell it a long time ago. We sold it, man. It was 20 something when we sold it. I think we sold it way back in here. Actually, we sold it at the end of 2021. I mean, we weren't up, but we missed all of this. Yeah, if it's in an IRA, I wouldn't bother selling it. But if it's in a taxable account, you could take the tax break. But I'd probably, find a replacement, either TAN or just sell a cash secured put on SunPower. And it has to be a little bit out of the money. So you'd be selling the $2 cash secured put probably. I don't know if they have 250s till September. So if you sold and then sold the September 250 put, right? Because you have to get around the wash rule, you get 42 cents and you get your tax break. Maybe it gets put to you, maybe it doesn't. But that's how I would handle it. If it's in a taxable account, go ahead and sell it, and then sell the cash secured put. If it's in an IRA though, just do nothing. I mean, now it's sunk capital. You just give it some years and see what happens. Remember, Total is still behind it. They ain't going out of business. All right. A lot of good stuff lining up for AST SpaceMobile. Yeah, they're going to launch their satellites here in the next couple of months. When do they get to the launch pad? August? And the window is September. I could be off by a month or two on that. But yeah, AST SpaceMobile, cellular connectivity is $1 trillion market. And over half the people on Earth have a problem with connectivity outside of city centers. So if American Tower, the biggest cell phone tower company in the world, is buying AST SpaceMobile, what does that tell you? Man, it's that valuable. So take a look at the market cap of American Tower. Okay, American Tower has a market cap of $90 billion. Explain to me why AST SpaceMobile can't be at least half of that. Why can't it be all of that? Potentially bigger share of the pie than American Tower has. It's cheaper to maintain. Once you get those satellites up in space, it's cheaper than maintaining all those cell phone towers. And they're not going to build cell phone towers all over the world. It can't be done. 5G and eventually 6G, I think, is going to be mostly space-based 10 years from now, except in cities. I mean, think that through. And that is a major savings in infrastructure for companies like American Tower or Crown Castle, the global companies. AST SpaceMobile is a big deal. And remember, they're going to be able to serve the entire planet with 90 big satellites. What is SpaceX saying they want? They're saying they want 40,000 little satellites. They're never going to be allowed to put 40,000 satellites up there, right? There's limitations. We're already having a problem with space junk, which Spire Global is helping solve. We just saw the astronauts on the space station had to take cover because of some space junk that blew up and was potentially going to hit the space station. And I think there's games being played in space, to be honest with you. So, I think AST SpaceMobile, I don't know. I think $50 to $100 billion company at some point. And it's $3 billion right now. Yeah, right. Somebody says SpaceX just admitted they have interference issues. Yeah, they have the wrong type of satellite. Just that simple. They have the wrong technology. It's one of the places where people are starting to realize that Elon Musk technology, which had some first mover advantage, is not necessarily superior, you know. So keep that in mind, especially with Tesla, because I think that everybody's going to catch Tesla in the next 2 or 3 years because of the AI, right? They're just all going to have it. So, you know, you've got all these people who only buy Fords, people who only buy GM, you know, people who don't like Musk, and people who only buy BMWs. There's just not that much market for Tesla to soak up, and not to justify a valuation that, you know, makes them worth the rest of the industry combined. Doesn't make sense. That means that they'd have to get half of the market share. Not a chance in hell. They're going to get their 5 to 15% somewhere in there, depending on execution. That's that. All right. So go ahead and take a look at the punch card stocks. I laid it out in model format, which is what you've asked for. And then the option selling trades of the week, exactly what I'm doing. And do please ask questions at the bottom of the articles or in the chat. I guess I need to change that. Edit post. Watch this. In any case, yeah, ask questions in the chat rooms. Margin of safety has the options chat. Fundamental trends has their own chat. But yeah, if you're not using the chat, you really should be, because I'm in and out of there a few times a day. And Teresa's in there, and over at Fundamental Trends, you got Shooter. So there's a lot of help that can be had. And I think that we've been pretty good the last couple of years, really since the end of 2021, when I told you to sell almost everything, and the things that we've been buying, you know, a combination of large caps and some mid caps that went up, small caps that were getting dirt cheap. Eventually those go up. And, you know, we even bought some stuff after the COVID crash. It all did pretty well. Tesla did pretty well, you know, Enphase did pretty well. A whole bunch of the REITs did really well. I think that we have a heck of a rally coming as the Fed loosens. And then we'll see if we get the spike and crash scenario under one president, or the muddle through and grind our way upward with a different president. And like I said, I'm not even positive that we know who the presidential candidates are yet. So we'll see what happens. But the reality is we can't afford the debt at high interest rates, and we can't afford the loss in tax revenue if we don't start start increasing the money supply again. Remember, all the people pounding their chests and stomping their feet talking about money supply and printing money, we haven't done that in 2 years. The money supply has been coming down for 2 years. That's reality. They're going to start increasing it again. Somebody says it's been a while since we talked about Bitcoin. All right, that's a great thing to bring up. So I will talk about Bitcoin. I think that right now you should be maxing out your Bitcoin position. Shooter put it in his video here. I think he talked about it in the major markets. A couple things are happening with Bitcoin that are important. So here's the Bitcoin chart, which I'm sure isn't going to pop out now that I want it to. So the Bitcoin chart is screaming that it's a buy. And there's a couple of big things going on. First of all, the German government sold off 150,000 Bitcoin in one of the dumbest Western government moves I've seen in a long time. Apparently, by law, they had to, but these were Bitcoin that had been seized as part of the criminal enforcement, and so you've got those 150,000 Bitcoin that have been going into the market. Also, after the halving, a lot of the Bitcoin miners, to finance themselves for a couple of months, had to sell some of their Bitcoin treasury. So you had their Bitcoin treasuries being sold off at the miners. You had a big dump of Bitcoin from the German government, and that really was kind of an overhang that the market had to absorb. Well, you notice that the price really didn't go down, it just chopped. That means there's a lot of demand for those Bitcoin as they hit the market. What happens when there's less Bitcoin hitting the market? Well, what we know is that the miners have reduced their selling by 90% in the last month. So that's done. And the German government's pretty much sold off those 150,000 Bitcoin. So that's done. In Korea, when the traders behave a certain way, that usually has been a harbinger of a rally in Bitcoin. And that started to happen too. So the traders are starting to do things that make it look like there's a rally coming in Bitcoin. I still think that Bitcoin gets to 100,000 this year, and I still think it gets to 300,000 in the next several years. Does it get to 1 million someday? Probably. It makes sense that it would get to 1 million, because to become an international currency hedge, and you have entire countries that are accumulated it on their sovereign balance sheet, kind of like digital gold, you're going to start seeing oil and other critical minerals and other debt issues solved with Bitcoin in the future and being transacted in Bitcoin. It's already at the very front end stages. You know, you have Qatar, you have a bunch of oil rich nations in the Middle East, a bunch of African nations, a bunch of Central American and South American nations buying Bitcoin. It's a thing. You just have to get over whatever bias you have. Oh, they might get rid of it. No, you know, BlackRock is the U.S. government for all intents and purposes. So is Goldman Sachs, and they're in it. And J.P. Morgan might be the only holdout, but they're trying to do their own thing. So the idea that Bitcoin is not going to go much higher, I can't figure out why anybody would think that. I think Bitcoin is going much higher. I've been trying to tell you to buy it for years now. And I think that this is a breakout spot. And I think it's very likely that you see Bitcoin at 100,000 soon. You're not going to be able to buy IBIT in the 30s much longer. So, you know, I've got IBIT as an 8 to 12% position for most accounts. I have a quarter of my money in it, a quarter of my son's money in it, and I'm not trimming. It can grow as big as it wants. Remember, your allocation isn't based on what it grows to, it's based on how much capital you committed. So the only time you really need to sell something is if you have a fundamental or technical reason to do so, because what you put in is just what you put in. All right, so go out and buy Bitcoin and get to your maximum asset allocation, because I just don't think you're going to be in this price range much longer. Can it dip a little bit? Sure. Can you fret over a couple dollars in one direction or the other? Yeah, you can. I don't know why you would, but I'd be scaling in pretty quickly here over the next couple weeks. All right, everybody, have a good day. Enjoy Independence Day. I will be back on Saturday with a outlook, with the quarterly outlook. I did the review a couple days ago, and that's posting right now. So make sure you take a look at that. All right, have a good rest of your week and cook out or something upcoming days.